Ladies and gentlemen, good day. My name is William Gustavo Sganzerla. I am PhD student at University of Campinas, and today I will present the theme of my PhD thesis, which is integration between subcritical water pretreatment and anaerobic digestion of brewer spent grains to recovery bioproducts and bioenergy. This study has been supervised by Professor Tânia Foster Carneiro from University of Campinas and also by Professor Solange Mussato from Technical University of Denmark. Starting with an introduction, the food industry in Brazil is a robust sector responsible to approximately 10% of the gross domestic product in 2019. Mainly due to the exportation of orange juice, coffee, dairy products, and beer. For the production of these products, the industry generates a high amount of organic and lignocellulosic wastes. And also, the industry demands a high amount of energy, which is obtained from non-renewable sources. Taking into account the non-renewable energy and the residues generated, the industry presents a high environmental impacts associated with the greenhouse gas emissions. Therefore, aiming to meet the Sustainable Development Goals established by the United Nations, it is necessary to study and optimize a new process aiming to decrease the environmental impact of the food industry. Regarding the sustainable development of the food industry, a correct management or treatment of these organic and lignocellulosic wastes for the production of bioenergy and bioproducts can be an alternative to meet the sustainable development goals and to meet the sustainability indicators of the food industry. Regarding the beer industry, the beer industry is also a robust sector. However, the beer industry generates a high amount of brewer spent grain as the main byproducts. An estimative is that 20 kilograms of brewer spent grain is generated per 100 liters of beer produced. Considering that in Brazil, approximately 14 billion liters of beer is produced per year, we estimated that approximately 5,500 tons of brewer spent grain are generated per day just in Brazil. Also, the brewer's byproducts, the brewer spent grain is a lignocellulosic biomass composed of 71%, but also present high amount of protein, approximately 20%, and also bioactive compounds and fatty acid, which demonstrate that it is a suitable feedstock for industrial application. So we developed a bibliometric analysis, a review study, which will analyze the potential uses of brewer spent grain in a biorefinery for the circular economy transition of the beer industry. We analyzed the trends and the most promising results obtained and highlighted during the study was the possibility to apply the brewer spent grain in a biorefinery to produce a range of active compounds such as proteins, biogas, xylose, ethanol, sugars, volatile fatty acids, using brewer spent grain as feedstock in this biorefinery. Since we are working with a lignocellulosic biomass, it's necessary to study the pretreatment of this biomass. And pretreatment is the most important stage of the industrial process for the generation of a further process, for example, the fermentation. Well, conventional pretreatments in general, such as based on chemical, alkali, and enzymatic hydrolysis, present high operational costs, generate toxic residues since it's necessary to apply chemicals in this process, and therefore results in non-profitable process. However, using and studying subcritical water hydrolysis we can affirm that this pretreatment is an eco-friendly alternative when compared to the conventional pretreatment, since we generate bioproducts just based on the use of water. And since we are producing value-added products with high marketable price, we can generate a profitable process. So based on this fact, the aim of this PhD thesis is to integrate the subcritical water pretreatment and anaerobic digestion of brewer spent grain to recovery bioproducts and bioenergy. So we will study both technologies, we will design process and optimize the parameters, firstly in laboratory studies for further technical, economic, environmental assessment. And the goal of this thesis is to design a novel biorefinery for the circular economy transition of the beer industry. So the first step is to study the subcritical water hydrolysis of brewer spent grain. We conducted in our laboratory a novel process based on sequential subcritical hydrolysis. So it's a process composed by 3 reactors. Here we can see the process flow sheet. We optimized this process, all the operational conditions, and then we submitted this process, and we have a patent of this process. Then in this process we produced a hydrolysate, and this hydrolysate we used for anaerobic digestion, which is our experiment integrating both technologies. We conducted the first reactor just with brewer spent grain, and the second one we used brewer spent grain and the hydrolysate for anaerobic digestion. The first reactor is a dry AD, a dry type for digestion, since contain approximately 20% of total volatile solids, and the second reactor is a wet digestion, since contain less than 2% of volatile solids in the initial composition of the reactor. We used these operational conditions aiming to produce a high amount of methane, and we evaluated the process performance of both reactors during 50 days. Our experimental results obtained the subcritical pretreatment. In general, this is a picture of the color of our hydrolysate during the kinetic points, and after our process, now we observed that we can produce a high amount of arabinose and xylose as the majoritarian sugars, and also we can produce high amount of organic acids, especially citric and acetic acids. Using the hydrolysate for anaerobic digestion, we highlighted that approximately 72% of methane are produced for the AD control without pretreatment. And using a pretreatment, we obtained 82% of methane after 29 days of anaerobic digestion. That is, we foster a faster stabilization in our reactor with a high methane content, which is a positive result for an industrial application. Also, the methane yield for this process was higher for the pretreated reactor when compared to the reactor just with brewer spent grain. The biogas produced and the high content of methane obtained in our reactor can be submitted to a heat and power unit to produce electricity and heat. We can assume a lower calorific value for methane, and knowing the percentage of methane and the amount of biogas produced, we can estimate a renewable production of electricity and heat from this biogas. And also we can calculate the avoided GHG emissions for this process, considering that we will replace electricity from the grid, and we will replace natural gas from the boiler, since we can use the heat. The knowledge transfer potential of this PhD thesis is based on the implementation of anaerobic digestion in the breweries for the production of biogas and digestate. The digestate can be upgraded to fertilizer, recovering nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and this fertilizer can be used in the barley crop, avoiding the use of petroleum-based fertilizer. Also, the biogas can be used to produce heat and electricity, and this bioenergy can be used in the brewery during the industrial process, and the energy surplus can be sold to the grid, meeting the circular economy definition, since using a raw material to recover bioenergy. Beyond this PhD thesis, we published 3 papers. The first one is the review paper, which I mentioned in the introduction. The second one is the technical economic studies of subcritical water hydrolysis for the production of isolated and purified sugars, which we publish on industrial crops and products. And our third paper published is a technical economic study regarding the production of bioenergy and fertilizer from anaerobic digestion of brewer's plant grain, without pretreatment, just the digestion of the dry anaerobic digestion. Finally, we have 2 patents. The first one is the patent of our pretreatment with sequential subcritical hydrolysis, and the second patent is a patent regarding the anaerobic digestion process, which we developed a novel process based on 2 reactors, a batch and a continuous reactor, for brewer's plant grain. This thesis has a direct contribution to the Sustainable Development Goals, especially for the goal clean water and sanitation, since we are treating a residue and generating clean water. Also, since we are producing bioenergy and we are using this bioenergy and the surplus can be sold to the grid, we meet the affordable and clean energy. And finally, since we are mitigating greenhouse gases by using a more renewable energy source, now we also meet the 13th Sustainable Development Goal, the climate action. So finally, using a eco-friendly pretreatment and a waste management system and integrating both technologies, we can treat these organic and lignocellulosic wastes from the beer industry and produce bioenergy and bioproducts. And this process can be a strategy to decrease the carbon footprint of the beer industry towards a sustainable transition to a circular economy. This is my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any doubt, please just contact me by this email. Thank you very much.